Hello and welcome to Thrash Life, episode 7. Happy New Year! I'm here with my buddy, my good pal, my amigo, Kyle.
What's up, Ed?
It's been a interesting couple of weeks as multiple guests who were scheduled to be on for interviews have unfortunately gotten sick or come in contact with people who are sick in one way or another. So this will be the first episode of Thrash Life where we talk about a couple of things other than the standard interview. Mainly, one of those things that we'll talk about in a bit is that we played our only show of 2021, which landed us in
Bed. Sick.
bed. And while we were sick, we had plenty of time to catch up on all the pop culture things that everybody is interested about on social media. So, how about we talk about a few of these things? Starting with The Matrix. So, you've seen the original Matrix, right?
I have absolutely not.
You've not seen the original one? Wow.
Never.
Okay, so what is your idea of the concept of The Matrix then, as a person who hasn't watched it?
Okay. Like nerds, and not like the good kind. Just like, edgelords in trench coats, basically talking about red pills and blue pills. And
Oh, yeah. So the red pill, blue pill thing kind of got co-opted by a lot of people afterwards as like a sort of language. Like the Matrix became its own language after the Matrix came out.
And also, of course, that iconic scene with Keanu Reeves bending over backwards to get away from the bullets that's been parodied by just about everything.
Yeah, and video games too. I think it was like Max Payne or something after it came out had the exact bullet time as like a mechanic of the game where you get to slow it down. So The Matrix was made by the Wachowskis, who are pretty progressive people.
Steve Wachowski from Monsters, Inc.?
No, not quite. But I think one of the Wachowskis was actually busy on something else. So this is just I don't actually know their names. One of them was Lana, one of them was something else. So they made this movie, The Matrix. Revelations. I don't know. It's got a title at the end.
So there's been a new one.
Yes,
that I'm not even aware of.
This is the fourth one, and it's it's come into being 20 years after. So in the original Matrix, you had the idea was that we're all living in a computer simulation, and once you get unplugged from the simulation, then you're in the real world, which is controlled by robots. It looks like the beginning of Terminator 2 when you see like the future and they're all fighting the robots and stuff. And it's science fiction. And some spoilers. Sorry if you're concerned about spoilers. You've had 20 years to watch The Matrix.
Don't ruin this for me, Ed. I've been saving this movie.
But he can Neo, the main character, can manipulate the code of the Matrix from his mind when he's plugged in. Later on in the series,
And
you
is
find
Neo
out
Keanu Reeves or Lawrence Fishburne?
He's Keanu Reeves.
What's Fishburne's name? He's got
Lawrence Fishburne is Morpheus.
Morpheus. That's it. Yeah,
And they don't bring back Morpheus in the new one, but the spoiler is that he can manipulate reality outside of the Matrix as well. Which you're like, wait a second. Is there another layer to the Matrix? The simulation is like an onion. We just keep going one layer deeper, but it's still the same bullshit. They kind of drop that concept. In the new one, Keanu Reeves is back in the Matrix, and he's living out this life. Have you seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he thinks he's on Mars?
Total Recall?
Total Recall.
Yeah.
So they do this Total Recall thing where he like thinks that he's in the Matrix and lived the Matrix life, but then like in real life he's like this computer programmer nerd guy who like has these delusional fantasies. And like at this point I'm like, fuck yeah, love Total Recall. This is actually hitting some notes for me, right?
Yeah.
And they just throw that all down the drain and be like, no, the Matrix is real. Actually, you really are Neo, and you're a superhero. So, and that's the movie. At the end of the movie, they fly away. They literally fly away like fucking Superman through the fucking air. And they never explain the onion theory, where it's like they go the one layer, like he gets woken up from the Matrix again, but he doesn't have the same powers. He's been like, locked behind the whatever. They made him think that he's a normie for a while, so he doesn't know he can do all this bullet time stuff. And yeah, it has a lot of commentary about that red pill, blue pill shit, because obviously, like, over the years, people have co-opted it, and they've co-opted the Matrix to be, there's like some inside jokes in there about like the boardroom of directors of the game design company that Keanu works for is like, oh, the Matrix is an allegory for trans blah 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 blah, and it's like, yeah, sort of, but like it's just they're bringing all the meta conversation about the Matrix into the movie and then being like, you fucking assholes who co-opted all this red pill blue pill shit, fuck you all, and it's just really weird.
And where can people find that?
I pirated it on the internet. Okay. Ahoy, matey. And I would give The Matrix probably a 6 or 7 out of 10 if you're looking to see it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's kind of, for me, it's in that category with like Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I don't think it needed a fourth entry. I think it was done. And granted, like, I think it's better than Matrix 2 and 3. I don't think it's better than Matrix 1. It's kind of just hard to reconcile the fact that the Matrix 1 was written at a time when the internet was very new. There's still a lot of landline phones in the movie, and this whole new thing. They try to quickly connect you on how the Matrix could actually be real in 2022, 2021. And it's like, oh, we don't need phones anymore to hop in and out of the Matrix. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. I mean, everybody has cell phones, but forward thinking, we might not even have cell phones 20 years in the future. So,
very true.
How about you? You got any movies? I got a list here of movies.
I did actually watch a movie last night that was disappointing. It was called, I think it's called We've Got to Do Something like that. It's essentially, there's like a storm outside, and this family is hiding in their bathroom, and I guess like a tree falls down through the house and falls in front of the bathroom door. And for some reason, the bathroom door is a solid oak door, and there's like no way for them to get out of the bathroom. And so this family's just stuck in the bathroom, and like,
there are worse places to be stuck.
Yeah. But the dad's like a dickhead alcoholic, chugging mouthwash and like getting the shakes and stuff. And like, but the whole movie, they kept on doing this thing where they'd go into like these really like gory, blood-filled like artsy scenes that made no sense, that were like bordering on like psychedelic type stuff. And I was just like, man, that's not it for me on this movie. Like, I wanted them to just keep it like to like the people are stuck in the bathroom. I didn't need like all that. And I won't spoil the whole thing, but I was really hoping that at the end of the movie they would just find out that they just needed to pull the door instead of push on it.
Oh man,
but that wasn't the end.
Yeah. So,
but basically the way it ended was basically like, haha, fuck you for wasting your time watching this.
Oh wow. Well, what would you give it out of 10?
Probably about 6.
A 6?
Yeah.
Where'd you find that? Did you pirate it or?
No, I believe it was on Hulu, but I'm not positive.
Okay. I have a Disney Plus subscription. I watched 2 things on Disney Plus over the quarantine period, neither of which were the Beatles this time. The first one being Muppet Christmas Carol, OG.
Okay. Yeah.
It was Christmas time. Muppet Christmas Carol, I think, is one of the better Muppet movies.
Yeah.
The first half, a lot better than the second half, I think. I want to see Scrooge being a dick. I don't want to see his like reformed thing, because like, they do the whole thing and the ghosts come and they scare him straight, and then it's like, oh, he's fine. I'm not for that. I think he's been such a dick for so long that he shouldn't be able to just get out of it with 3 ghosts and having a happy fucking life.
Right.
But man, Kermit the Frog, my homie. I love Kermit.
Okay.
Gonzo and Rizzo as the narrators, really good. The movie, I mean the movie, the song with Marley and Marley. Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking, some of the songs are just like so fucking good in that
Yeah.
movie. You've seen it though,
Oh
right?
yeah. We just recently got a new dog, and his name's Pugsley, but I call him Rizzo because he looks like Rizzo to
Ah,
me.
yeah. Rizzo's one of my favorite characters. The
Yeah.
rats and the penguins in general,
Definitely.
they focus a lot in that movie. And it holds up really well, man. The practical
Yeah.
effects, they do like this flyover scene of London, but it's like a miniature, and you can kind of tell because it's all in HD now. So you're like,
Yeah.
wow, this was like somebody made this giant miniature town and then like flew like a camera over it to make it look
Yeah.
like an aerial shot, and it just stuff like that, man. They just don't make movies like that anymore.
Yeah. There was a true crime show that I used to watch that like they would make like a model of where the crime happened and like shoot like that so they could like move toy cars or whatever. But like when they weren't doing any of that ridiculous stuff and it was just the model, like you would have thought that they were like filming on the street of like an actual
Yeah, yeah.
neighborhood.
I give Muppet Christmas Carol an 8 out of 10. What do you give?
8 out of 10. Yeah, I can get on board with that.
All right. The other thing I watched on Disney Plus was the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay, I haven't started that.
All right, so
Here's what I want to know about it though. Is this like season 3 of Mandalorian, or is it
Yes.
just okay? So
It starts, well, it's like after season 2 of Mandalorian, Boba Fett kind of splits off on his own,
Yeah.
and it starts from that point where he splits off, and then it
Okay.
also starts doing a bunch of flashbacks as to how he got here. And
See, I don't want his origin story. I want
it's not the origin,
Mandalorian.
it's how he got out of the. It starts out with
season 3.
crawling out of the Sarlacc pit,
Right.
which is the scene that I think everybody wanted to see. From like you watched Return of the Jedi long ago, and Boba Fett falls in the hole, and you're like, I like Boba Fett. They have to bring him back. So like, I think there's like a clip from Parks and Recs or something where one of the characters is like describing how Boba Fett like struggles and crawls his way out of the Sarlacc pit, and it is exactly the same as how the Parks and Rec guy like describes it. So he gets out and he's real fucked up, and the whole beginning of it kind of shows how he crawls out and his ass is whooped, and the Jawas and shit come up and steal all his shit, and Tusken Raiders and everything else. So my main
Right.
problem with it, he's getting some shots. This was recorded during the height of the pandemic, and some of the shots are very clearly extremely bad green screen. Like,
Oh, right.
like we put some sand in this studio,
Yeah.
put a green screen against the wall. We walk across the sand and put like a sand backdrop, and all of a sudden, we're walking across the desert. It's like, this looks so fucking bad. Like, I'm sorry. It's just,
Yeah. It's probably about the level of technology for the original movies, though.
I think it's a little worse.
Oh, wow.
I think it looks pretty bad. There's a lot of stuff that they do to make the originals look bad and the new ones look bad, but I think this is like a whole new level of like cheesy sci-fi channel budget.
It's one thing I'll kind of fault Disney with here too, is that like they kind of had lightning in a bottle there with Mandalorian, and they just let it fizzle out. Like I've been waiting forever for like an update to it, and now I'm not even really excited enough to like jump ship and start a whole different show in hopes that it'll be as good.
I think the Mandalorian guy, or what was his name, like Pedro Pascal? I
think so.
I think he's like doing some other stuff. He's shooting some other stuff right now. So their schedule got like a little messed up from the pandemic too.
And they had all that drama with Gina Carano or whatever.
Yeah, and I could do without her. She's not a very important character or a very important person. But as a person who really liked Boba Fett growing up, I have to say I am very 4 out of 10 on episode 1.
man,
And I've heard bad things about episode 2. If you have Disney Plus, you want to spend a couple hours watching it, you can leave your own thoughts in the comments below as to what you think you would rate the Book of Boba Fett. And I guess we'll catch up with you next week or a week after and see if you watch it.
Yeah, we'll see.
You got anything you watched on Disney Plus?
Encanto, I think it's
Encanto.
called.
Okay, yeah, I have not gotten to watch that.
Which
But,
I haven't really like sat down and like watched it, but it's been on like at least 7 or 8 times. So I've caught
yeah,
like
yeah.
all these different pieces of it. It's pretty good. Like always, the score is good. It's good
I've heard
music.
people were like, man, I cried, but I thought about it for a week after watching it.
Okay,
Like
wow.
I heard it's pretty powerful in that regard.
Yeah.
I know that Disney World coming up is going to be doing an Encanto thing. I was looking at some vacation deals for
Oh,
February
okay.
possibly, and
Wow.
they have at Epcot an Encanto inspired thing for the art and something festival. They have a festival every season
Yeah.
at Epcot, and the the late winter one is an arts festival, and all of them have food. So that's the main draw. You go
Yeah.
there and drink around the world and eat
Yeah.
all this fancy food.
I'd give it, just given that I've only seen like bits and pieces of it out of order. It's like a 7.5 probably.
Okay.
Just because I feel like Disney's kind of oversaturating this whole like tropical island or Mexican feel that they're doing all the
Yeah,
time. It's like
yeah.
Coco was great, Moana was great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to something else.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen Coco or Moana. I heard they're both pretty good. I know that I went to Disney World last year, and it's a big part of their plans redesign for Epcot is to have a Moana and water and tropical sort of
Oh yeah,
rainforest sort of theme in the middle of it, because they already have the land pavilion, the space pavilion, and they're
yeah.
trying to do more things that incorporate like natural
I mean, they
wonders.
could do some wild parties with the Coco
I
universe.
bet, yeah, like all the stuff there is pretty rad, which is why
Yeah.
I'm looking at going again.
I mean, Coco, I would highly recommend though, just for like, it kind of hits you in the feels as like a musician or a music lover,
Yeah,
like how
that's the
important music is
Day of
to
the
you.
Dead one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it did look pretty interesting. I have a hard time bringing myself to watch not animated movies, but like that Pixar style,
Yeah.
like soft face, like everybody's made out of Play-Doh
Yeah.
style like
Yeah.
thing. And
Well, Coco, since he, obviously the point of the movie, he crosses over into the land of the dead. So there's a lot of like, it's still soft, but it's got like sort of a Tim Burton-esque feel to it as well.
okay. Right on.
Yeah.
I watched let's see. Free on YouTube right now is Sound City, which was a documentary made by Dave Grohl when it's about the Sound City Studios in Seattle, Portland, something like that, where originally back in the day, Fleetwood Mac, Tom Petty, a bunch of other people like made great records in, kind of fell off, and then it became like a budget recording place in the 90s where Nirvana wound up recording. And it's mostly about this Neve console, this like very specific big recording board that they had in there that was like custom ordered. And it's Dave Grohl is pretty obsessed with it because he credits it with the sound that made Nirvana,
Okay.
that gave him a career essentially. So he heard that they were in dire straits, and he wanted to go there and buy the board at least, if not the whole thing. It seemed like the building was kind of in bad shape, and that's why they didn't just outright buy the studio, because
Oh, right.
like apparently it would like the parking lot would flood and the water would come in halfway through the hallway or something. So you
Yeah.
can't really have stuff like that when you have fancy gear. And so he got this console and he brought it back to his studio. They had a lot of interviews with like everybody who's ever recorded at Sound City. And then they set up the Neve console in the new studio, and they bring in all the people who have previously, or not all of them, but a lot of the people who have previously recorded on this Neve console.
Dug Kurt right up out of the ground and got him in there.
Yeah, yeah. I think Chris is in there.
Yeah.
But as well, they have Paul McCartney comes in there. They make a song with Paul McCartney.
That's
And I
cool.
think they made an album out of this. If you're listening to this, you might have heard some of the songs at the time that this movie came out. The movie is free on YouTube with ads. The ads aren't very invasive or anything.
Yeah.
The movie, however, drags. I'm not sure
Uh,
how interested you are in a movie about a fucking recording console. And I mean, I watch a lot of stuff like VH1's Behind the Music, where you have all
yeah.
these interviews with musicians talking about their career, and like, you know, Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks and stuff like that. They play a
Yeah.
big part in this. Stevie Nicks does a song, and it's just not as interesting as VH1's Behind the Music,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, if you have time and you're really a gearhead and you
Yeah.
really want to see like the inner workings of like band stuff, there are some things that Dave Grohl says in here where he's like, um, you know, he's playing with Paul McCartney and he's like, wow, this feels just like I'm playing with Kurt, except I open my eyes and I look over and Paul McCartney's here.
Sounds like something I could probably get away with just listening to while I'm driving.
Yeah, there is a lot of that because there's like so much soundscape stuff where it's really just somebody just mashing on a drum kit or something. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, I feel really strongly about how this Neve console sounds. Splice edit to do 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 do, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just it's not very visually oriented.
Yeah.
I would give Sound City for non-hardcore gearhead fans a 5 or 6 out of 10. If you're really into gear, maybe bump it up to a 6 or a 7. If you're a Foo Fighters fan, maybe a solid 7. I don't know. I don't think it's that much better.
Get
than
real
that.
about Foo Fighters fans. They'll give it a 10 just because.
I am kind of a Foo Fighters fan.
Okay.
I definitely like the old stuff. I'm not a big fan of when he blatantly rips off the riff of Holy Diver
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I mean, hey, you take your shots and you hit them when you
Yeah.
can, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, while I was laid up in bed, I spent most of the time on my phone, and I discovered a YouTube channel called the Charismatic Voice.
Oh, okay.
And it's this vocal teacher. She's also, you know, very well trained opera singer and everything.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly the origins of the channel and where it started, but the first video of it I saw was her reaction to Cemetery Gates by Pantera.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I wonder what like the opera take on like this vocals would be.
Yeah.
And from there, she actually seems to have really developed a strong appreciation for metal. And like after digging into like Priest and Maiden and Manowar and stuff like that, she's like almost exclusively just does like metal and hard rock singers now.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give that channel a 10 out of 10. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I was watching some of the Judas Priest episodes, and I was really interested in her insight as to where the vocal register was hitting in relation to the guitars.
Yeah.
And how exactly the harmonies were being built. And it didn't, obviously with a lot of metal and stuff where we're just winging it and trying to go for sounds that sound good.
Yeah.
We don't think about the fact that the vocalist is hitting the perfect fifth on that note or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like I like getting into the nitty gritty of singing because I don't really know how to like express like how it all works, but
Yeah.
I've done a little bit of it and learned a few. It's like interesting when she talks about like your control of your breathing and things that like just all the challenges of singing that like I'm aware of them because I'm not a good singer, but listening to her break it down is always interesting.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. I don't think that way in the theory way beforehand. I usually think about it like after the fact. I'm like, oh, it's cool that we hit this harmony or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's always an accident. It would be nice to be able to do it on purpose.
In the moment, it's just like, yeah, we're just hitting notes until something sounds good, and then oh, this is it. This is it, and then it's good to know what it actually is afterwards.
Yeah.
I was watching before I came here. Actually, The Expanse has a new season. Have you watched any of this at all?
I do not know what it is.
The Expanse is a book series of sci-fi. It was, I A TV show, I forget where it was originally for 3 seasons, got canceled, and then Amazon picked it up and kind of finished it off.
Hmm.
They did 2 more seasons, and then this current season, which is not fully out yet, will be the last season. But even that will not encompass all of the books. There's a strong tie to Baltimore in this. One of the characters is from Baltimore, space Baltimore.
Hmm.
Well, Baltimore in the future. We're in space, and he comes back and he goes to Baltimore.
Okay.
The Expanse is pretty neat. It's a science fiction. You could say hard science fiction. Some things like Star Wars is like a space opera. This is more of a realistic sort of stuff. When they hit the afterburners and stuff, there's G-force. Doing all these maneuvers and stuff in space gives you a chance of stroke and stuff like that. So people wind up just like dying because their bodies can't take it. There's like a whole separate faction of people called the Belters, who are people who have essentially lived their whole lives in space, and therefore they're like longer, thinner, more spindly, and unable to withstand Earth's gravity. So there's like a thing here where they couldn't even get back to Earth necessarily if they wanted to. They need a lot of medical conditioning. And then Mars is colonized. Mars is a faction of its own. You have space pirates, all this sort of stuff. And then you add in alien DNA things that are just fucking shit up, and ancient artifacts from a civilization that existed long before the humans and stuff like that. There's so much stuff in here. I don't want to necessarily spoil it. I mean, like just saying that Baltimore exists might even be a little bit of a spoiler. I don't want to spoil what happens, but they do go to Baltimore. There's not much in terms of Baltimore's iconic imagery, but they say it's Baltimore. And it's a pretty cool show. So if I would say, actually, The Expanse, hour-long episodes, will have 6 total seasons. It's a lot to watch, but I think that it is a solid 7.5 or 8 as far as the whole watch, even the beginning. So.
You said that's Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon.
Okay. I watched a documentary on Amazon called The Seeding about people who claim to have been part of a program where aliens will abduct them and either impregnate them or take sperm from them to create alien-human hybrids.
Okay.
And, it's like, I don't want to... These people, obviously, they truly believe this happened to them, and it may have. Who am I to say? But it's all uncovered through, like, some sort of, like, hypno-regression therapy where basically they sit down with the shrink, get hypnotized, and they, like, pull it out of them. So I don't know how much, to believe, since it seems like the whole point was to make a movie out of these people. So, like, if they don't tell you that the aliens did this stuff to them, then there's no movie.
Right.
But the main thing that caught me about it was just like I just put it on and figured I'd watch it for a few minutes, and then it's narrated by Henry Zabrowski, which is one of the guys from last podcast on the left.
Okay.
And he's like a complete goofball and not serious. So I was like, I got to see where this is going. And he plays it straight the whole time. So it's interesting like that to hear him actually trying to be like the straight man on something.
Yeah, he's like, I got a job now.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to believe it because I am a believer, but at the same time, it just seems so far out there. Like this one lady is like, oh yeah, I have 32 alien children or something like that. And
wow.
It's like, I guess so, maybe, but I'd give it probably about a 6 out of 10. It's like your standard, not very good documentary, but the subject matter sort of gives it like almost on the edge of like mockumentary, even though that's what I'm saying about like, I don't want to laugh at these people,
it's like
but
exploitation a little bit, there was something I watched when I was a kid that was like, this is like back when I lived in California. So all these memories sort of blend together with all the scary shit that I watched at the same time.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember, so there's an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where Picard gets abducted and they turn him into a Borg. And they have this body horror scene, which is like probably the worst out of like all of all of Star Trek, where they put a drill through his fucking eye. It's like literally
Oh,
a
man.
7/64th bit. It's like
Yeah.
spinning, and they like cut the shot when it's like, a fraction of an inch away from
Yeah.
his actual eyeball. I'm sure it was probably safe to actually record it, but
Yeah.
and then there was this alien thing. There was like a past regression thing, and it all kind of blends together with the X-Files and the Star Trek body horror stuff,
Yeah.
and like where this teenage kid, I guess, was abducted and they tried to wipe it from his memory. And I'm not sure if this was supposed to be a documentary like that, or if this was like
Yeah.
a pseudo X-Files like sort of story, like
Yeah.
unsolved mysteries or something. But they had abducted this kid, and he was like maybe like trapped in this weird like alien honey hive where they're like doing all this
Yeah.
drill stuff, body horror drill
Sounds
stuff
like
to him.
Fire in the Sky a
Yeah,
little
it
bit.
might
You ever
be.
seen that movie?
No, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe.
Oh, okay. It could be because it's this. It's like the most famous abduction story of all time. This guy, I think it was in Arizona, and like he just gets abducted and essentially like milked or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever,
yeah. And I think there was something to do with like them implanting some weird stuff. So I kind of remember like a character like picking their nose, or like maybe like some sort of
Yeah.
weird long like booger thing comes out, and it's actually like some weird alien receptor implant. And anyway,
Yeah.
uh, also on Amazon, I watched Wheel of Time, another
Wheel
book
of Time.
series adapted into a TV show, and this one's a fantasy wizard show. I never read the Wheel of Time Robert Jordan series. It came out in the early '90s, which means I should have liked it, but I don't know. I just
Yeah.
didn't really pick it up. And it sort of reminds me of Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones totally jumped the fucking shark and just
Right.
ran off the rails, minus the incest and other weird, edgy shit that they put in there just entice some people, I guess.
Try and keep it realistic.
Yeah, it has this vibe where it's like you have wizards and nobody really knows the wizards. Like, what? Yeah, that was weird. I'm not sure if you could hear that on the podcast. Somebody just fucking moaned or
That's the
something. through
bathroom.
wall.
That was a fart, dude.
Is that, man? Somebody's trying
That's
to
the
crawl in that
bathroom
guy's
right over
ass.
there.
Damn. But
All right.
there's like wizards and such, and they nobody knows how the wizards do their magic, what their magic is. There's a lot of misconceptions, so all the extra characters hate the fucking wizards, of course.
Yeah.
But there's like sort of a light magic and a dark magic and cursed items, and all these people who are prophesied to be the chosen one and have innate powers, but you don't really know who is the chosen one necessarily.
Right.
Granted, the book series is finished, so if you really wanted to look on
Probably
Wikipedia,
do
you
know.
can look at all the stuff. But
Yeah.
season 1 of this follows the first book that Robert Jordan wrote, and the first book is the one that got him on the map. He apparently wrote this book. The publisher was so excited about it that they printed off 30,000 copies and gave them out to people, and people fucking loved it, and it sold out multiple print runs like
wow.
very quickly. And there's like 18 novels in this series, so maybe 18 seasons. He actually
Yikes.
passed away before he could finish, but before he passed away, he knew that he had like a heart problem. So he made enough notes to give to some other guy to finish the book, and which turned into 3 books at the end. So the series is completed in book form. The Amazon show has been in the works for a little bit, and it's pretty cool. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. Definitely worth watching. I don't think it gets too slow at times, though the CG is questionable. They said they will give it more money on the next season because it did so well.
Yeah.
The CG at some points is just like, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah. I myself, not much of a reader, so none of the things I really watch are too connected to books. But I guess on a stretch, I've been enjoying the new season of Dexter, which
Oh yeah, that
is
came out.
inspired by a book series, but they are way beyond the books at this point.
Yeah. So how did they? Is the whole season out?
Tonight, well, it's already out. A lot of people watched it yesterday, I guess, but tonight I'll be watching the final episode of
Okay.
the season.
And what would you rate it so far compared to the original?
Ooh. It's tough because there's some seasons of the original that I like more than others, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say it's different. You can tell somebody else has the reins,
Yeah.
but it's just as good, just in its own way.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird. I wasn't sure how they're going to loop it back around from that finale that they did initially, where he just kind of drives off in a boat and was like, "I'm done, fuck this shit." But I guess it's
essentially
open-ended.
started a new life as a guy named Jim Lindsay.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have a rating for it?
I'm going to withhold until I see how they wrap this up.
We'll see next week.
As it stands now, it would, if they wrap it up satisfactorily, it'd be an 8.
Yeah. My last thing that I watched, actually, I have one more after this. My second to last, Dune.
The penultimate.
Yeah. So Dune is another book that got turned into a movie. Now, this was originally a David Lynch movie in the 80s that starred Sting,
right,
and some other things. Then they did a Sci-Fi Channel series movie adaptation. Dune is a very long story and actually has sequel books. The Sci-Fi Channel series went, I think it was like 8 hours of material that goes all the way into the third or the fourth book. This new one is half of the first book, half of the first movie.
I've actually heard that it's not very well liked.
It's weird. I really like the original one with Sting in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. The CG is questionable. Granted, it's like 80s CG, so it's very like blocky, polygonal stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they cut in each one is kind of weird. This one has more of this is what is it, like Denis Villeneuve or whatever, the guy who did the new Blade Runner.
Oh, okay.
So it has this sort of new aesthetic of the way that we shoot sci-fi movies in the late 2010s or whatever, the 2020s. There are a lot of artsy scenes in it that like kind of feel out of place.
Yeah.
So they do these things where it's like, yeah, it's all the Dune political stuff, space politics or whatever. And they just have this scene where you get the real like sub-bass synth boom as this like egg-shaped spaceship lands and puts down its fucking like feet and just lands. And it's like a 1 minute scene of that. And it's like, wom, 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 and it like lands. And you're like, okay. I mean, you're just like, you're setting the stage, but it's also kind of weird because the spaceships never really played that much of a part in the other movies. This story is mostly a ground-based story. It's on Dune. It's on one planet. They're on this planet, and it's kind of like an allegory for colonization and native peoples out of place, having their resources exploited and stuff. And I think it kind of like plays it safe and like tries to avoid that, whereas the Sci-Fi Channel one played into it really hard. You saw like the plight of the people in the Sci-Fi Channel one as they were like dying for water. And in this one, they're just kind of like killed off screen with laser cannons, and it's like fucking weird. It's like a little too sci-fi. Visuals really good. No Sting, gets a point off for that.
Oh, for sure.
It has Jason Momoa instead.
Oh, take another point off.
It is weird.
That's weird though. What do they got a thing for bass players? I don't know if you know this, but Jason Momoa is like a big time bass enthusiast or whatever. So they go from Sting to him.
Yeah. So, geez, I would just to show where I stand. I would rate the original Dune, David Lynch, an 8. Sci-Fi Channel one, also an 8, with the caveat that you have to like to watch a lot of movie. This one I'd rate a 7 so far. It's also like it feels like such a cash grab to split it into 2 movies. Like,
oh, is this something that's released in the theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's just weird to have it like kind of end in the middle of the story.
Could be just a reaction to the fact that people probably won't sit through something that long anymore.
Yes.
Attention spans have changed quite a bit.
People complain about stuff like Star Wars Episode 2 having too much political talk. This movie, Dune, the Dune story is like all political posturing.
Right.
It's about one noble family being in charge of a planet and the Emperor installing another noble family as a trap, just essentially to fuck them up, get them killed, remove them from the system.
Yeah.
Things backfire. There's still a lot of political posturing. There's still a lot of players between and in between all the factions and stuff. It's good. It's a good story. I would just say watch the David Lynch
I have
one.
attempted to watch the David Lynch one,
Yeah,
but I kind of fell asleep.
right. It has some stuff. It does that thing, and especially since that the David Lynch one being an '80s movie, it really takes advantage of silence and stuff like
Right.
that as like a storytelling thing, which means if you're not like 100% committed and like awake and watching
Yeah.
it, and you're just like kind of like laying on the couch, like
And
you get to the quiet
Pretty much
part.
need to be sober too.
Yeah, you get to the quiet part and you just doze off. This one at least does the thing. It's the new school movie where things will be really quiet and then things will be really loud.
I pretty much hate that.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, especially when you're watching on a computer or something. You're just constantly like clicking the volume up and down to be like, fuck,
Yeah.
like a fucking spaceship's landing.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, now I can't hear the dialogue
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. That was my second to last.
What was your last
My
one?
last one I just watched last night, actually. They Live.
They Live.
Rowdy Piper.
I don't know if I've seen that.
So
I feel like I have.
it's been so long since I've seen it. Obviously, everybody's seen the memes.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with this movie, wrestler Roddy Piper becomes a action star, similar to he influenced through this movie the creation of Duke Nukem. He says
okay.
I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm on
Right.
the bubblegum line. It has a very like Big Trouble in Little China, like
Does he have
B movie.
balls of steel?
He doesn't say that. He's a bad actor. He's really fucking bad
yeah.
actor, and the whole role seems written for him to be a bad actor. They're like, we're not going to give you too much dialogue because
Yeah.
we know you're just like you're gonna be out of it. But the premise of the movie is that all of the stuff, the TVs, the billboards, posters, magazines, is all secretly mind controlling you via subliminal messaging. There are some people who are trying to get the word out there about this, and they have created some sunglasses. When you put on the sunglasses, all of a sudden you not only see all of an advertisement doesn't look like an advertisement anymore. It just says obey. It's just white with black letters, obey and stuff like that. So you see the subliminal stuff, or
It's getting a little too real for me.
consume and or, marry and reproduce. These are all
Right.
like things that are on here, and it's like, yeah, obviously this is like the best thing about this movie is that there is not even a sliver of truth. There's a thick ass line of truth. Like there's a whole layer of cake in here that's like, yeah, this is just actually the way things are. You don't need like fucking alien sunglasses to help you see it.
Yeah.
And it also you see that some of the people here are aliens in that so you can see through their skin and they look like people from like Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
And obviously, coincidentally, all the people who are aliens are usually the super affluent people who are getting everything they want in life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a class commentary in that, like, this ruling class of extremely affluent, wealthy people who seem to fail upwards and just drive rich ass cars and have suits and wristwatches and stuff like that. They are all actually a secret cabal working. If they're not directly aliens, they're working with the aliens to advance.
I mean, that
the
does tie
aliens'
into
interest.
that alien-human hybrid program. Like, the theory of that is that there are alien-human hybrids that live amongst us.
Yeah, I mean, it could be possible.
Oh, absolutely. Some of these athletes nowadays, even, it's just like the height, just being so tall. Like, how the fuck do you do all these basketball players where it's like the average person's like 6'7"?
Maybe they should drink a lot of milk. Who knows?
Yeah.
The movie is pretty interesting. They use Roddy Piper's wrestling abilities to do some wrestling-esque fight scenes. And
Oh,
man, when I tell
man.
you, it is some real
I've never been a fan
kayfabe
of Roddy
shit.
Piper, so I never really thought he was a good wrestler who's the best worker
Yeah,
either.
yeah, it's some real like jobber shit, man. It's
Yeah.
like a literally like a 20-minute fight scene between him and this guy that he was like literally a day ago in the story he was working with on a construction site, and they were buddies. And then he like wants him to put on the glasses so they get in a fight. And like it is like a just 20-minute slugfest of like fake outs and shit. It's like then they start picking up random objects and it turns into like a chair ladder
Yeah.
match sort of thing, and it's very wrestling.
Oh man, that's very on point with how things are today too. Sometimes got some guy that wants you to buy into his conspiracy theory at work. It's like,
Yeah.
sick of hearing about this shit, man.
Yeah, it's at at the end of the movie, it's not necessarily a happy ending. It's kind of a happy ending. It's a really weird ending. It ended a little bit differently than how I think I would expect it to. Not necessarily making that like better. It's not like a better ending,
Yeah.
but I would rate it a 6 out of 10. It's a solid B movie. It is
Yeah.
solidly in the B movie camp. You have to realize this is a really shitty 80s B
Lionsgate.
movie. Yeah. But it's just super influential on the way that everything progressed afterwards, and obviously the class commentary and the stuff
Yeah.
is just
I'll have to watch it
relevant.
because I've either seen it and don't remember it, or somehow just missed out on this one. But it sounds like a good one.
I haven't watched it in so long that I pretty much forgot it, but as soon as it was put on, I remembered it. It was
Okay.
like I know exactly what this movie is as soon as I saw his face.
Yeah.
And it was because he didn't do a lot of work in movies. But
Yeah.
you got anything else you watched?
I think I'm pretty well caught up here on the stuff that I watched. I actually did, while I was sick, spend most of the time just laying in bed, like in and out of consciousness, watching the Charismatic Voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched a lot of YouTube stuff in and out, and I saved up all my podcasts for when I returned to work. So this week I returned to work. I had a solid 10, 20 hours of podcasts
Oh, yeah.
ready to go from 2 weeks of not being there. Unfortunately, I missed out on Christmas with my family. I missed out on New Year's.
Likewise.
But we'll be rescheduling that just to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I had mine rescheduled for this past Saturday, but then my other sister got COVID. We had rescheduled because a different sister had COVID the last time. And hopefully, eventually, we're going to get there.
So this weekend, MagFest was going on, and
Oh, did they still have that?
they still had it. And I was
Okay.
actually surprised that they did because the COVID wave has hit our area pretty hard. We
Yeah,
had
I'm seeing a lot of things that are being canceled again. It's like shades of 2019
Yeah.
again.
So the Sidebar local venue had to shut down again. Shout out to the Sidebar for due to repeated closures, and I guess the owner Travis not necessarily wanting to have to deal with this all the time and deal the brunt of the financial burden. The Sidebar is an all ages venue in the heart of Baltimore, a very small place, 70 capacity, not a very big selection of drinks, no food, but it was always the number one stop punk bar if you wanted to get in. If you wanted to start your band, that was a good place for the kids to get their first show in. Anyway, he's I guess looking to sell it, looking to transfer ownership, and the local entity Feed the Scene, run by Rachel Taft, is looking to do a GoFundMe campaign to possibly purchase some or all of the assets, building,
Yeah.
whatnot.
Well, from what I gather of the situation, I think that's why it seems so cheap is because you're not getting the building. There's still going to be rent due.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a landlord involved here as well. So they're just, I guess, everything in the bar plus the business as it stands now, I believe is what's for sale.
Yeah, they have a goal of 80,000. They have two goals: 50,000 and 80,000. Last I checked, they were at about 16,000, which unfortunately doesn't really bode well for actually hitting either of the goals, or of 15 or 80, as far as I've
I
seen.
feel like the reality of the situation is that the liquor license unattached to any entity is worth more than any bar is ever going to be worth to try
Yeah.
and sell.
And Feed the Scene being an entity that helps house and feed touring bands for very cheap or free. They do a lot of things in Baltimore with their own booking and shows. So I guess they have a vested interest. They want to keep this up and running as another all ages venue that helps everybody out. They book there semi frequently when the Sidebar is open. Obviously, last 2 years Sidebar has not been open that much. If you're interested, check out Feed the Scene. Google the campaign, see if it's for you, see if you want to donate. I know a couple people, our friends in the band Dead End Lane, actually donated $1,000 themselves.
Oh, wow.
To keep it happening. If you have the money, by all means, if it's your thing. If not, don't feel too pressured. The scene will find a way. Worry about your own finances before tripping over to.
Yeah, I mean, there will always be at least one place once demand requires it again.
Yeah,
at least it's a real shame when you lose these places that have a history. Hopefully, we won't with the Sidebar, but I do believe that whether it's that location or somewhere else, somebody will carry the torch.
Yeah.
Keeping shows going.
Yeah. So we played a show, our only show of 2021. We had actually not played any shows in 2020. I don't think we played anything in 2020, and we didn't play anything in.
Nope. Before that, the
2021
last
until
show
December.
that I had done was March 15th, 2019, the day before like mass shutdowns. I
Right. Yeah,
played
yeah.
Skid Row Garage with Trenches.
Yeah, and I think we had played with our band Ralph sometime
At the garage like 2 weeks before that or something. So
yeah.
that was our last show previous.
So we
to
decided
this
to hang
one.
it up and for the longest time just work on our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Baltimore Thrash. We used to practice and stream every Wednesday night, or initially it was every Sunday night, every Wednesday night. That kept us somewhat fresh, somewhat engaged with the people who pay attention to our band. And after a while, it became untenable after jobs came back to do a weekday stream. And things were looking a little bit better at a certain point. Like we might actually be able to play a show again. So we got an offer for a show in Harrisburg. We've never played any of these places in Harrisburg before.
Nope, never played Harrisburg.
This place is called JB Love Drafts Micro Pub. They also have another location called JB Love Drafts Brewery, which is a little bit up the street. This one was in the college waterfront capital sort of area of Harrisburg. Really nice place. Bartenders, really amazing. Our sound guy, Zach Elwood from I think he has his own booking thing called Fifth Street Booking, but he does a lot of sound work in the area, Greater Maryland, DC.
I really appreciate the while maintaining the punk aesthetic, also having a very clean bathroom.
Yeah. So this place, clean, also displayed a lot of interests of the owners. It being called JB Love Drafts, I think, kind of like shows that in its baseline. But inside the bathroom is a cabinet with a bunch of vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figures.
Yeah.
On many of the bar tops, there are the micro systems that came out for like the miniature PlayStation, the miniature.
The Super Nintendo
and stuff. So there are a lot of extra activities you could do instead of just being somewhere. There's upstairs, there's downstairs. They served food. The food was pretty decent. Definitely worth getting. I didn't regret getting the food there. Fries, especially.
I mean, they even curate the discussion down to their interests. I believe it's no politics, no sports, and I can't remember the third one, but
Yeah.
all stuff I don't really talk about in bars anyway.
Yeah, this was like the unspoken rule of bars, but they have it written on the wall.
and they enforce it.
Yeah. And they also had a nice selection of whiskeys that I took advantage of. Got a couple old fashions made with Woodford Reserve, which is pretty good bourbon. They were more than accommodating as far as giving us a guarantee up front and making sure that we had house cabinets and all sorts of stuff. So sound wise, playing wise, very good. One of the big things that we messed up on is that we forgot half of our merch. So
I forgot it.
the first time playing in 2 years, liable to forget something when you walk out the door. And we had our CDs and our small merch items, but we did not have the T-shirts, which unfortunate, but just the way things go sometimes. One of the other bands did drop off due to COVID.
Oh, is that what happened to Warhawk? I didn't see why
yes.
they didn't play.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I heard. So I heard that one
Okay.
of the members had gotten COVID before, and I guess again somebody else had gotten COVID, which
Right.
had led to them dropping off at the last minute. This was kind of the moment where I was like, this suddenly
Yeah.
doesn't feel so safe and correct to be doing this right now. But played the show. We also played with fellow thrash band Thrashic, which I believe is from the Harrisburg area.
Yes. Yeah. Cool band.
Yeah, cool guys.
Tight,
Definitely.
they're very well rehearsed.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're on their first album, their first wave of merch, and everything like that. So if you definitely like supporting thrash acts that are up and coming, I would suggest reaching out to them.
You can tell they put a lot of work into their songwriting stuff too.
Yeah.
They actually have like a Megadeth vibe to me. So if you're a Megadeth fan,
Definitely.
they're pretty much right up that alley.
Yep. Yeah, we went ahead and I think we Rochambeaued them for headliner or something, which we didn't have to do. We did not have enough material at the time to headline or the will to headline.
Yeah.
But they did a pretty good headlining show, stage banter and everything. It was just really unfortunate that after this night,
I had a
one
good time.
night,
I was glad that we played, but
I was glad that I took it really easy. I didn't. I definitely didn't get drunk because I did say I had a bourbon. I did not drink very much. I had a drink or two to loosen up before a set, which is very early in the night. I sobered up and I went home and I did not drink anymore. I had a Red Bull and a lot of water, and it was the first night in a while where I was able to drive 2 hours home after a gig and feel like I wasn't fucking dying.
yeah.
Which was nice. A lot of other times it's real strenuous, especially when you leave the bar at 2 a.m. and stuff like that. And definitely nobody should ever drink and drive and anything like that.
Right. Well, to a point, bars exist. Everybody
Yeah.
has a few.
Yeah, I'm not the arbiter on these things, so definitely just be responsible out there, folks. Final thoughts. I had fun. The COVID for 2 weeks made me lose my sense of smell. 3 days of fever meant that I had to take Tylenol, which means I was not drinking any of my fancy whiskey that I have at home, which was unfortunate. But it did give me a lot of time to catch up on TV.
Yeah.
So overall, what would I rate the show?
What do you rate COVID?
What do I rate COVID? Definitely like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
I had a serious flu 2 years ago that was much worse. Now I am double vaxxed, but I missed my booster shot because I had COVID.
Yeah.
which is
I
unfortunate.
don't think I had COVID. I think I had the flu but I tested negative on a home test. So
Yeah, who knows?
who knows?
I could not get
I was pretty sick though.
test. Yeah. The tests, both the rapid tests and the PCRs, the PCR appointments had all been
non-existent.
gone, and all the rapid tests had been bought out for about a week before I got sick. So during the entire time I was sick, I was unable to get tested, and there are still no tests available but I'm fine now. So stay safe out there, y'all.
Yeah, well, they say you're double vaxxed, and then having the Omicron, you have like a super immunity to it now. They say,
my
but
coworker said that as well, and I hope it's true.
I don't buy it.
I'd like to. I mean, I don't trust anything now.
Yeah,
because it seems like one of the things, and I don't want to like pick on. I don't want to say that like there was a specific patron that I saw doing this or anything, but like at the start of the pandemic, we were pretty serious about like when you go to the bathroom, you should wash your hands. If you cough, you should cough into your elbow instead of your hand. And you know, hands are dirty. Stop making your fucking dirty hands touch everything and then like touching your face.
Yeah.
And for a little bit, people were like, okay, yeah, hand sanitizer, we need to do this. We're so far gone from that. When you go into a bar that has zero masking, zero testing, and I don't mean to say like the burden should necessarily be on any bar really to like have some guy checking cards at the fucking door or whatever. Because I mean, obviously people are gonna lie, people are gonna be in various states. It's whatever. But like, and this company, I mean, like as a company, the bar can't just like pack up their shit and go home because everybody's some people are sick. But it's just we've gotten a little lax. I think everybody's gotten a little lax on the hand washing, the sneezing, and then the going out. If you have like you're a little sniffly, you're a little coughy or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's just allergies. Dog, it's the middle of winter. You don't have allergies.
Yeah.
Like you think it's just a cold? Well, you don't know. You think it's just a flu? Well, you don't know. So you shouldn't just like keep doing shit necessarily.
I had a moment at the show when I had that same realization because like it just feels weird now when you cross the boundaries that you've sort of put up over time. Like Thrashik was playing and someone was talking to Matt and I about our set, and it's very uncomfortable for me now, the whole like leaning up to my ear and screaming at the side of my face. I was like, wow, me and this dude are really close to each other right now. I haven't been this close to a stranger in years.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously these things happen. You could we're not epidemiologists, and we're not trying to say that we know better than anybody else as to what the fuck's going on, but wash your fucking hands.
Yeah, but I also have trouble finding anywhere to really pinpoint how either of us got sick because everyone is sick right now, regardless of what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I definitely can't say it necessarily came from the show. There was a couple instances in which I was out in public and people were very obviously sick without masks, being in public spaces where they just had no business being. And I mean, like, if you're sick and you got to run to the store and get some medicine, just put on a fucking mask or get,
They also do curbside,
like a no contact delivery to your front door. There's so many options now that there's absolutely no reason for you to be going into Wawa and placing an order for a fucking sandwich and coughing your ass off for 10 minutes while they make it. It's just
even that like, I don't want to destroy an industry here, but like, I'll stop for coffee a lot. And I frequently stop at McDonald's now because where I drive, sometimes it gets a little rural. Yeah. You don't have anything that's like Sheetz or McDonald's, and I don't like Sheetz coffee.
Yeah.
But so I'm always standing in there waiting for my stuff with the Door Dashers. And the Door Dashers are just like what you're talking about. They come in and like I'll watch them and they're like touching their face, like putting their fingers in their mouth and then grabbing your food and taking it to you. And that's supposed to be like your safe alternative.
Yeah.
But I don't trust these Door Dashers. They're like, I don't know. The dude comes in and goes to the bathroom. I don't know if he washed his hands. But I know even if he did, he was still like picking his nose and shit like that.
Yeah, during our quarantine, we ordered some contactless delivery, and one of the guys who came, knocked on the door, put the shit on the floor, and stood there in front of the fucking door during contactless delivery. And it's like, you open the door and it's like, thanks, and it's like, I don't want to scare you, bro, but I probably got COVID. This is why I ordered contactless delivery. Get the fuck away from my door. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But just stay safe out there. Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Don't cough on
people. A lot of it, too, it's become sort of a thing where, like, I enjoy this 6-foot bubble.
Yeah.
So respect it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that just get too close.
Yeah.
Even if it had nothing to do with getting sick, just get too close.
Yeah. In the future, just stay the fuck away, okay? Just get off my back. You have anything else to add?
Nah. I think I got it all out.
Yeah. It's been a hell of a 2 weeks as we've been unable to record, as many of our guests again have come in contact with various illnesses, be it COVID or who knows what else. You can't get tested, so everybody's got to stay safe. We will be returning with interviews in the near future. We might have one more episode next week without an interview, possibly. Who knows?
Yeah, so we do need people to come in and talk to us, though. So if you are a musician or you know a musician, where can they actually get in touch with us regarding this show?
Well, you can always email medusaheadmedia@gmail.com. This show is produced by Medusa Head Media, our overarching umbrella for releasing audio, visual, and print content in the future. We will be trying to work with musicians ourselves and others to put out some albums for some people who may need some help doing so. And also printed materials like books and zines are on the table in the future. So medusaheadmedia@gmail.com. If you want to reach out there, you can also reach out to us individually on Facebook. I am Ed Vaughn at Etna Plays on Twitter. We got Kyle over here, Kyle
Fulcher, Fulcher
on Facebook. And reaching out to us there will definitely get you in on the schedule. We are currently have some artists booked through the beginning of March. Hopefully all that works out as illnesses burn through our community at a record rate. We record this show every week at Orion Studios in Baltimore, Maryland. Represent.
Space Baltimore.
Yeah. We are super lucky to have a lockout room here. They also do regular hourly rehearsals, recording, showcases, and they are in the process of building more lockout rooms for audio-visual stuff, as well as photography and all sorts of stuff.
And happy birthday, Joe, half of the Orion ownership.
Yeah, happy birthday, Joe. You've been a big help to us in fixing our gear up and renting the place out and everything else. Parting thoughts.
I'm going to give this podcast a 10 out of 10.
Same. Now we'll give our fans a 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for sticking by, supporting the podcast, listening. If you haven't done so yet, you can subscribe on YouTube to our video editions of the podcast. If you hate our faces, you can go check out the audio podcast available on Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify,
everywhere.
A bunch of other shit. Please leave us reviews on those platforms. It helps us get seen. And
subscribe so we don't have to keep hounding you on Facebook every time that we release an episode.
Definitely subscribe. We are going to still post every week on Facebook anyway. And like Medusa Head Media on Facebook, that'll also give you, they're actually distributing podcasts through Facebook now. Our RSS feed goes through there now.
Oh, wonderful.
So you can listen on there as well. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Kyle, for being with me today.
Yep.
Take care, everybody.